Hey guys, today we're back, and so yesterday we somewhat got this drawn out. We were having struggles with the forge. We ran out of propane. We really didn't have enough charcoal to run the coal forge, but as you can see, I got more propane, so we got the sword heating up. I've got it bent, and I've done a little bit of drawing out to it just to get a little bit of work done. You saw me do the guard. Obviously, we have to cut the slot for the tang yet, but I really like how this guard has turned out. But we're just gonna keep going with this. Hopefully today we can get the blade done and ready to heat treat, maybe for tomorrow or tonight. I want to get the bevels, tip, and a length all forged out. I want to get it filed and ground today, and then roughly hand sanded and potentially a mode on this. So it's gonna be a busy day, focusing heavily on this. Try to get it done, at least all forged out and ready to go for heat treatment either tonight or tomorrow morning. So this has got to heat up, but we'll be ready to start drawing this out, and we are pretty close. Have to re-sketch my drawing or sketch on the floor. Just from walking on it, it's gotten a little faint. So I'll redo that, and yeah, we'll take this out of the fire and start hammering on it. So let's get to it. So we got it all forged out. We are about I think 1 or 2 inches short. Sorry, 1 or 2 inches short. Oops, it's not completely perfect. I do have some hammer marks in it. This side of the bevel is not great. This side is fairly good. This side is fairly good. We do have some fairly deep some deep hammer marks. I'm not going to say fairly deep. I can definitely get them all ground out. This is not a perfect forging. I definitely got really better, or got the feel of forging these bevels near the top, about like to here up, about halfway up the blade. Back here, I was really figuring it out. That's where some of the earlier clips are from. But I definitely figured it out, and it's looking really, really nice. I can look down it, and I can see that both my bevels are formed. It is fairly thick behind the edge, just so I'll have enough material to grind and fully develop these bevels. But this is definitely something I can improve on later on down the road when I want to make another one of these. But I'm still very proud of what I did. The thickness, is really consistent when I look down it. I forged it really straight, so I'm very, very happy with how this came out. But because this is a piece of leaf spring, even though we cut a smaller section out and basically doubled its thickness, doubled its length, I still want to have this thing annealed. I want to anneal it since I'm going to do a lot of filing on it and sanding. I want to get it fully annealed. And in my personal experience with working with leaf spring is that I've had a little bit of trouble with warping. I was using water at that point in time, but just so this piece can't have any sort of memory of where the spring was bent, so this thing won't warp, or if it does, I want to be able to anticipate that warp. But I'm going to go through a lot of normalizing cycles and annealing, because I really don't want this to have any sort of memory to it. I want it to not warp. It is fairly thick, and it's going to stay close to this thickness. But just to be certain, I want it to not warp. So we're going to get this guy all annealed. So since the forge is cooling down, I'm just going to throw it in. And obviously, it is going to cool at different rates, obviously, because I use the front burner of my forge. So obviously, the back half is going to get more than the front half. But it'll be all right. I just want this to cool down slowly and make sure that there's no stresses or sort of memory inside the steel, and obviously so it's soft enough to where I can hand sand it really nicely and file it really nicely. That's my main goal with this, is those three. If I can get rid of some sort of weird stresses in the material, perfect, but I really just want this to be as soft as it possibly can. So I'm gonna let this cool off, so I'll see you in, 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, so I've got it out of the forge, and it is fully cooled, and I have started grinding and filing this. So I ground it roughly. It's obviously really still thick along the edge and the spine, but just practicing on one side. So now I'll show you guys the process that I've come to with the other side, and obviously we're gonna have to do a lot more grinding, a lot more filing, even on this side that I started on. But yeah, it's looking nice. It is really heavy, obvious, and I would like to take down the profile a bit more, maybe about by 1/8 of an inch, just a tiny little bit. But I bet when I file in the sort of, those beveled pieces on the spine, I bet when I do that, it'll get a little bit thinner, and make the profile be a little bit more to what I have on the floor. But yeah, it's looking really nice, and I'll reposition you guys so you can see me grind away at this. Okay, so we are finally done with all of the filing on this guy. It is really rough. I have put in the tiny little micro bevel just so we don't have to grind that in. So we will have a risk of some stress. We'll have some stresses at the very edge, but hopefully we won't, because we'll be obviously quenching this in oil the way this is supposed to. But of course, through all of that hard work and effort of filing and grinding, we are going straight to the next worst part of hand sanding. So I'll just jump right into it. So yeah, this isn't perfect. The bevels aren't perfect, but it's all right. So I won't prolong the further punishment anymore, so I'll just jump straight into hand sanding. Okay, so we're over at my anvil stand it has some holes in it, and I've just wedged this in it. Obviously this isn't super safe because I can just fall over and just impale myself, but I just feel like sitting down for this, not because I'm lazy, just it's already going to be a pain on its own, and I also want to sit in the sun. I just want to sit in the sun. That too. But nevertheless, we have a ton of sanding we still have to do. I got it really close. This is one of the best file finishes I've ever gotten. Because I watched an old video by a dude named Clickspring, and I watched like 1920s video about filing. And I'll link those in the description of this video, or one of the five videos that I'm doing about it. And that's helped me a lot with just the immense amount of filing that I've had to do with this. So yeah, I am going to start at 180. I'm just going to start at the lowest grit I can, and the lowest I have is 180, and obviously go up through the grits. I am going to be using two different kinds. I'm going to be using this kind and this for my higher grits, Duragold. Obviously, it's sandpaper, it'll be alright, and I will be using a little bit of WD-40 just to lubricate the surface while I sand. And yeah, let's just jump into it. I'll just be using my small little file to sand. And now, because this will be a slow process, I want to tell you really quick while I'm getting this ready and going to start sanding is about why I wanted to do this. I mentioned in the first video yesterday about, and if I have time today, I will work on sanding the guard, but I would like to get this finished first before I do any more work on that. But the reason why I chose this, and I've done a few swords in the past. I've forged and made a Roman Gladius. That was the very first sword I ever made, and any sort of blade of that size, which is a short sword, so it's like a big knife, not for, nowadays, but it was a sword then. But I have done a Roman Gladius, and it does show that it's the first sword I ever made. And then here recently over Christmas, I made my friend Crusader sword, or a long sword, and I wasn't able to get the best. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever produced, but I ended up getting sick over Christmas. So ended up getting sick over Christmas, and then it was just really cold, and then just time, spending time with family, and all that sort of stuff. Spending time with family, everything of the sorts just associated with that, just made that really difficult, and a bit of lack of materials. Like, I didn't have the wood I kind of wanted, so it wasn't a struggle completely. A lot of other projects, like some of my first knives and things like that, have been worse. But so this is the third sword I've ever made, and it's significantly better because I'm able to put a whole lot more time into this guy. Like I said, that I got sick over Christmas when I was supposed to be working on that longsword, and that really just hurt the progress of it. So I had to move quickly, and my friend, he was going away, so I really couldn't afford to not do my best, but I was limited to time so much that I had only like 3 days to complete it. Had to run town to get oil, so I don't use quenching oil, I use just canola oil. I'm a cheapskate. I don't make enough knives, or even I don't sell knives. I give them away. If people want them, if I ever make them, I give them to people. I don't sell them, so that's why I'm not too concerned about using water or just regular old canola oil with forging. I mean, with my knives. I've had good success. You go all over YouTube and you hear people having great success with canola oil, or not great success, but very good success for what it is. But had to run to town and get that because I didn't have any, and I wasn't gonna try to use water because it was of a piece of leaf spring, and I really could not afford the setback of having to do it again. I just couldn't. And here, either tonight or tomorrow morning, when I go to heat treat this guy, you will see what I had to quench that sword in. And I'm gonna do the exact same with this guy because I don't have a better setup. But I really had to push myself to just get that sword done, and I really want to try to do that as well here. Just get it done, try to give myself a week's worth of time to do it. And this will be easier because I don't have to deal with Christmases and meeting family and friends and things like that. What I had to do over Christmas. So this is already just a significantly easier, in my personal opinion, challenge because I don't have those just real-world constraints on me of what I'm doing. But, dang it. But the reason why I really wanted to do this make a katana or Japanese sword is that I rewatched one of my favorite videos ever. One of the things one of my favorite videos of all time, and especially one of my favorite blacksmithing videos, and I'll link this in the description down below as well in whatever video, along with those two filing videos, is an old documentary from like 1997 about the secret world of Japanese swords, and it has always not fascinated me because I know the processes of it, so you can't quite be fascinated when you understand how and what the people are doing, but it just strengthened my love for the craft and not just the love of the production of it, but the love of the history behind it. Blacksmithing and bladesmithing have, I would say was the backbone of our modern civilization, and obviously warfare really brought that forward, and just the way swords are treated. I'm just gonna use this glove to wipe off the residue. I just love how Japanese swords have been ingrained into the societies, and they're not just weapons as they are maybe seen in other places. They're more than that, and that's what I love about it, is that the smith's heart and almost soul are put into each sword that they produce and make, and that's why I personally love that video, is that it's, number one, very well crafted, especially for 1997, but just that's where my love for these swords comes from. So I just wanted to make one. I wanted to start one about a year ago when I got my gas forged, but that never happened. That piece of steel ended up turning into the longsword, or the Crusader sword, or whatever kind of sword it is. Before that piece of steel ended up being turned into that. And that's where I got the inspiration to do this, is that I have the time. I don't have the money, but I have the time, definitely, to do this. So I just decided to do it, to finally make a sword that I really, really want, a sword that I really, really like, and a sword that I really, really appreciate, and put every bit of effort that I can into it, just like they did. And was my main goal for this video series, obviously, and to get some videos out to you guys, to who all is watching this. But that was my sort of main goal with this sort of thing. And I'm not, like I said in the beginning, I'm not trying to make the greatest sword of all time, obviously. I'm not going to go wrap the handle. I'm not going to make a scabbard, or I think it's called a saya is the technical Japanese name of the sheath or whatever. I'm not planning on doing any of that. And even this blade isn't going to be perfect. I know it's not going to be perfect. And even just the fact that I ultimately used a wrong type of steel for this. You would want to use something like a 1080 or a almost all carbon steel blade that's frankly low. You know, and this does have, you know, just not a more specialty steel like this. Obviously, if this was for like if I was going into Forged in Fire, this would be a great piece of steel to use, because 5160, amazing steel. But I want to be able to come back to this. I want to be able to make an even better sword in the future when I have mainly more skill, obviously, but to where I have the money and the time, the more money, more time, and especially more skill, because I believe heavily in skill over, you know, money, because I haven't had the most amount of money, especially in my blacksmithing and forging career, and it's always pushed me to do better and to do more with my work, especially like this. Push myself to do all these sorts of things, to push the boundaries of what I'm capable of with purely my skill, because I don't have the time or the money or whatever, or I have plenty of time, but the sort of money to sustain those sorts of things. Like, I've always wanted a power hammer. I don't have the space and especially the money to have a hammer. But that's why this project has been such a struggle, is that I had to forge all of this out with an 8-pound sledge, and the handle isn't cut down. It's, you know, like 30 inches. You know, it was a struggle, but I was able to get past that. I was able to do all this and still get to the point to where I'm at now. And just the fact that that's how these swords were made back then. And I want to have the same skill and experience as those legendary smiths that were making these swords. And that's why I want to... That's purely why I wanted to do this, is to be able to give this sword justice and to show my skill with a very complex sword. Obviously, it's nothing compared to a traditional one, if I had to make it traditionally, but I don't know, and this will also help me if I ever go into a competition like Forged in Fire, or Forged in Fire itself, you know, have to build a sword or a weapon in 4 to 5 days. This will certainly help me, because it's Tuesday, and I got nothing done yesterday, but now I'm nearly to hand-sanded sword, and potentially ready for heat treatment. Not really, but you know what I mean. But, and I think it's only about like 3:34 now, where I live. Obviously, I don't have a watch on me, so I can't check the time. But, But all the reasons why I want to do this is just, just a bunch of random reasons. But I really enjoy this, and it's been really fun. It's been quite a bit of a struggle, especially yesterday without having any fuel for either of my forges, so having to wait. But it's still a good experience. I still am very happy with all of this. So really, you've heard enough of me talking, and you've seen enough of me hand sanding. So I will catch you in whenever I am done hand sanding all of this. See you whenever. Okay, so I just normalized the blade. I need to straighten out the tang and everything, but it is normalizing. I just took the time since I straightened the tang, make it perfectly symmetrical on both sides. I might as well just normalize it or do some sort of normalizing cycle on it. So it's normalizing right now, and I'm going to work on the hamon. So I got a couple components. I got some fire brick right here. This is a piece of a whetstone that I just broke off really quick. Got a piece of charcoal, another piece of fire brick, got a piece of satenite, the refractory cement from my coal forge, and some more charcoal, and then I have some ash from my coal forge, and then I have some of the filings and grinding dust from the sword itself, just to, make it a bit more like poetic that it's, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to quick crush these up, and I have a little bottle. I don't know where I put it. Somewhere around here. Oh, here it is. Just full of water, or it's soapy water, but it's fine. And I'll mix this up, and hopefully by then that will be all cooled off. So I'm just going to go ahead and start breaking these up. And I don't know. I'll just break these up off camera, and then I'll show you show you guys me mixing it all together, and then putting it on the blade. Okay, so got our hamon all made up. I think I might add a tiny bit more water to it. It looks still a little thick. I did not sand this back fully from when I normalized it. It's just kind of scuffed up, which I don't think will make too big a deal with all this. It'll be all right. And I might need to mix up more hamon, but I can just do that off camera. And I am planning on, for how late it is right now, I think it's around 6 or 7 where I live on Tuesday. So I'm just going to put hamon on this side and do the rest off camera. And so tomorrow we'll heat treat all this. So this is the last thing we are going to do today. Last thing we are going to do today is just put our hamon on. And it will be easier heat treating this thing with the hamon with our gas forge. We won't have to worry about it chipping or breaking off like in coal forge. So we won't have to worry about that. So and I don't so I don't know how they get the sort of pattern from this to show up in the documentary. It just shows up. But if I can't get this, they call it the jihada, the hamon line, like the difference between the fully hardened edge and the softened back. If I can't get that, I'll probably take some vinegar and then go over it lightly, or do something, or maybe I'll just leave it. Dang it. Maybe I'll just leave it the way it is. I don't really know quite yet what I would like to do. And I think I might even need bore for this side too. Because, yeah, I might not. I might be able to scrape enough out of it and get that piece up off that little bit up off the floor. But this is my favorite part, if I haven't said it already, of that video. because it's just like such a cool process, and just how the Hamon line comes out when it's all said and done. It's just really cool, really amazing, and it's just really a neat technique to get like a softened back or a softened spine with the for a more flexible blade. I just think it's really cool, really neat. And because mine's so, more thick, I'm not gonna try to do the clove lines like or the cross patterns, the lines and whatever the Smith does in the documentary, because I don't know if this will even work. I think I'll just finish this Hamon tonight, and then let it all dry. Let it dry, and then quick do it to tomorrow morning, and then heat treat it and everything. Just finish off with this Hamon, this side of the Hamon. Dang it. Can't afford to drop it. There's some. Just get some weird lines in. Just make it random. That's kind of the beauty, I think, of some of the styles of Hamon that Smiths have done over the centuries of the art. So I'm just going to do the same. Like I said, this isn't a super specific sword. Just sort of like just said katana just to catch everything, just as a catch-all style sword. Just to not say anything super specific and not say something super specific and then have to work to some like specification. Just make a random sword. So that's kind of what I'm going with for the entire project, and same with my Hamon. Just really basic and just neat. Nothing super specific. Just fun, cool, and just to get like I said earlier, just to do something. And there we are. Don't know how perfect this will be, how well it'll work. I definitely think with how much since I use fire brick, satanite, and some ash, I definitely think that this will definitely soften the spine and obviously give us that distinct Japanese sword or katana bend. But really, just gonna do this tomorrow, and so yeah. So till next time, see ya.